Oh my gosh, you guys. I hope people are still here. Oh my gosh, like my electricity just went bam. This rain is obviously very close. So, um let me make sure. Am I really and truly here? Okay. Oh, yay. Thank goodness. Thank you, Druid. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, I guess I got up back up pretty fast, but just beware. I guess I'm right in the middle of a huge thunderstorm. So if I go again, I'll keep trying to get back on. So this one was pretty quick, but you never know. All right, back to it. So we were reading about Penny Mordaunt. So this was the funny thing I was going to read about preparation and poise. They say that Mordaunt's impressive stamina and composure in handling the heavy swords drew widespread praise, with many commenting on her strength and grace throughout the ceremony. She attributed her ability to handle the weighty swords partly to her Royal Navy training, and even mentioned taking painkillers on the day to help manage the task. And I was like, I hear ya, sister. You hold something like this for a long time, it hurts. So, like I said, they did not exactly know what they were making, but it had very specific specifications. So, she's got these, the leaves here on the front of her. It's kind of like a cape-like dress. She's got the headband sort of thing that's got the frond, and then on the back she's got this like three little bits. And what was interesting, they said that they knew, looking at the dress, like that little decoration on the back was kind of down a little bit lower, and the reason is because of the length of her hair. And even the day of, like, she came like for fitting and checking and all the things, but even on the day of, they had to give her hair a little trim so that it sat just on top of these little things. So, oh my gosh, like I say, the pomp and circumstance of the whole thing. But also, I think there's something beautiful about being able to perform so elegantly during something like this. So I just thought this was really cool. This is kind of a pride and joy thing for them. And also it was really funny. If she got to keep the outfit, I suspect she did. I'm pretty sure she did. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, it was made for her body. So, and if you look on, they have a whole blog post about this, and they show what the original, what is it, Lord President of the Privy Council, they showed what that garment looked like for a man, and it was kind of a stuffy old coat with encrusted in lots of embroidery. So being the fact that she wanted to wear something more elegant, and I suspect they wanted her to wear something more elegant than this man's coat, that she had this made. So, but what I was going to say is they didn't know, like I said, they didn't know that she was going to be part of the ceremony. And so when they all got together and watched the coronation, they were like, ah! Oh my gosh! So I thought that was pretty neat. Okay, this beautiful, beautiful sofa. This is the best picture I could get of it. And let me find you. There's a picture of the room it's in. This is in Winfield House, and I'll read you what that letter says in a minute. But this is it in its space, in one of its spaces. It looks like they move it around. I could be remembering this wrong, but somehow I feel like there were two of them. But this is in Winfield House, which is the location of the ambassador, the American ambassador, the United States ambassador to Britain. And let me find the picture of this so I can read it to you. Because what you see here, and I apologize, it's really hard to see. There's a man here looking at the seat, and you see he's doing something here. Basically what he did, because I guess they didn't have a contemporary like drawing of it, a cartoon, which is like a full-size sketch of it. I don't think they had a contemporary pattern for it. So this is their chairman, I believe, and he went and laid paper on top of it and literally like traced it all out, the trapunto. This is not gold work. This is all trapunto. They do this by hand, so you can imagine, again, this is a love seat. It's huge. And it's pink. And apparently it used to be a different color. They decided they wanted it to be pink, and they have to remake it about every 10 years. And because people sit on it. And I'm like, you know what? If I had something that a fine embroidery house spends God knows how many hours embroidering, I wouldn't let people sit on it. But yeah, this is it. And it's at an American place, you know, the American embassy, basically. Bear with me a second. Let me see if I can find the picture, and I can read you what the letter says, because you know, I put things in a folder, but I still can't find what I'm looking for. Okay, here it is. So this is what the letter says. This is from 2007. It's sent to Alistair MacLeod, and I think he is their chairman, if I'm correct about that. Dear Mr. MacLeod, I am completely delighted with the trapunto work your team has completed on the 2 sofas, so there are 2, for the Winfield house. They have obviously taken many painstaking, meticulous hours to finish to such a high quality. Please, could you pass on my huge thanks to your son and these other people for their hard work. We are thrilled with the result. Be assured that they will be seen and sat on by thousands of people in the future. I would be like, no, don't let thousands of people sit on that. Mrs. Annenberg, whose sofas they were originally, is also delighted. I enclose a photograph of one of the sofas taken by James Mortimer, whose photographs will be included in a book I am writing on the story of Winfield House. And this is Maria Tuttle, and I'm not sure who she is. Anyway, the picture that I showed here, I suspect might be from this book that she referenced. So you can see here, because this looks like a book open. This is in something called the Green Room. So yeah, there's lots of these houses throughout the land. Now, because they have to make it every 10 years, remake it, they more recently came up with a machine embroidery type of plan for it, which, not really machine embroidery, but a machine made plan for it, which they said saves them time and energy, saves the American Embassy money. So that's this, which you see here is just an example. That is not the embroidery that is, or the trapunto that is on this love seat, but that's an example of like what they do. So it ends up being, they're using like some type of, I would say, batting or something to make it pop up like that, and it looks like trapunto even though it's not traditional trapunto. And you can also see here more of the animal embroideries on Brian May's coat, which we will look at. Just a few more things, more shoes. And she confirmed these were made the same way Camilla's were. It's, a piece of, in this case, velvet that has the shoe pattern marked out on it, so they know exactly where the monogram goes. They stitch this stuff. This one looks like it's machine done. This one I'm not quite sure. And then they go off to the shoemaker. They also do some really cute stuff, and they had all kinds of little patches that you could buy. And so this is one, Hand and Lock Hotel. It was for some kind of thing they did. I think I saw something on their website about it. This is some type of ecclesiastical garment. And I will tell you a story about something that involves a harp and some lions in a moment. But I think this is just something that's in their archive. I mean, you can kind of see the things that are hanging here. There's like patterns and samples and all kinds of stuff. So I think this is just their archive. And you also see here, I think these are samples of some type of fabric or ribbon. or something. So they have access to, I mean, you seriously can get whatever you want made there, within the confines of this style of stuff. So these are more examples. So this is that gossamer, beautiful, hand beaded and sequined, and the feathers. And you can see at the top of the feathers, there's like a little kind of little encrusting of beads and stuff. I just like, oh, so beautiful. And so Locke, the C.E. Phillips that Locke worked for, they had actually done embroidery for Hollywood, and one of their sort of claims to fame were the dresses that Marilyn Monroe and Rita Hayworth wore in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And of course they have a big picture of Marilyn Monroe wearing this beautiful red dress. And I mean, I just picture, gowns that you see, from Hollywood movies and stuff. Like, this is the real deal. This isn't something that's made to look fancy, but rather this is the real deal. Now they have done a lot of stuff for like the Gilded Age. I think they mentioned doing some stuff for the Gilded Age. Downton Abbey, I think. I didn't get I don't think I got a super picture of it, but there was like the snake-like thing that they had done for Gladiator, the newer Gladiator movie. I think it was Denzel Washington, maybe it was part of his costume. But funny thing they said was that when they do this costume type stuff, or in some cases it's props. There was one, and I think it might have been the Downton Abbey, there was a prop embroidery that one of the characters worked on throughout the season. They had to make multiple copies of it because, she starts off with like it's barely embroidered, and by the end she's got something that's complete. And so they made a bunch of them. The pictures she showed, she was like, oh, her tension in her embroidery hoop is just awful. That was funny. But she said often when they'll do these like really, encrusted type of costumes, they often will only do like the front part, or they'll do like super encrusted beautiful things, and then they'll kind of fill in with like some machine embroidery along the sides. Maybe the backs won't be done. Maybe if it's something that's only going to be shown from the waist up, the bottom won't be done. Our particular the woman that did our tour, the education coordinator, she had worked on Wicked. So and she didn't show any pictures of it because I think, if I remember correctly, she worked on those as a independent, like a 1099 type of project. They were not through Hand and Lock, although Hand and Lock mentions like she worked on these projects, but it's not their work. So I didn't see specifically which things she worked on, but the magic of Hollywood, they don't necessarily have to make these things gorgeous from head to toe, so that kind of saves some time and money. But still, I mean, just the bits and pieces that they do make are just amazing. This is an example of the silver, and I think this is that passing thread. So this is the cotton core thread that is wrapped and then couched. So this is not bullion, but you can see like where there's some damage here, and I think that's why she passed this one around, because you can see this one's not pristine, and you can kind of see how it was made. So this is a picture. Now, this is not their work that I know of. It might be, I don't know. But I took a picture of this at the V&A, just as another example of like this kind of thing. And this is the insignia of the Order of the Garter, which is a very important, what do you call it? Like a thing that is bestowed. Prince William, so King Charles's oldest son, he was the 1,000th person assigned to the Order of the Garter. So it's a very prestigious thing. I don't know how else to call it. I don't necessarily have the right words for this because I'm not particularly I'm not a royalist, and I only know limited things about them, but this was something that came about, and I'll read you what the card says. The Order of the Garter, founded on St. George's Day in about 1348, is still Britain's highest order of chivalry. So it's about chivalry. Charles I promoted this ancient order and introduced an embroidered star to be worn in public by Knights of the Garter on their cloaks. And the cloaks are like these blue velvet things things, and this thing is quite big. The star is embroidered with silver thread, but gold and even diamonds were also used. The badge was first introduced by Henry VIII and was worn on a blue riband or sash. It is known as the Lesser George and replaced the official Great George for everyday use. There's two versions of it, I guess. Anyways, this is an example of like this old, stuff, and no less resplendent than the brand new. It's tarnished and whatnot, but it's still just very opulent. This is definitely made by Hand and Lock because they lent it to the Fashion and Textile Museum where I saw it before we went to Hand and Lock. And so this is, again, another close-up of the epaulets. And these were specifically for Queen Elizabeth's corps, military corps. And it says, Hand and Lock, London, the Honorable Corps Epaulets, 1953, hand embroidered with gold and silver wires, bullion curls, and gold military lace for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, as indicated by the specific crown and ranking details. So that's this here. The Corps is the oldest military unit in the British Army, founded in 1509, and serves as the sovereign's personal bodyguard on state occasions. And it's on loan from Hand and Lock. So like I said, these little bullion curly Q things, they look like fringe, but they are solidly attached. So it is literally like a solid strip there that they have been attached to. Okay, a blank page. Oh, crud. So apparently, the pictures I uploaded right before this did not go through, but bear with me one sec, guys, and I'll pull up the rest of them. Oh, one other thing I think I forgot to show, I think I just totally forgot to add here, is this. So come on over here. Oh. I didn't mean to do that, but we'll just look at that. So these are the two like official like emblems. And so here on the right, you can see this is Queen Elizabeth. So Elizabeth II, and the R again is Regina. I don't know what it is for the king. Reg? I'm not sure. Somebody probably knows. Word and bird nerd. So anyway, and you could see the crown is also different for each of the monarchs. And so anyway, like I said, they've got to do all of these to switch over, and they have a certain amount of time to do it. Now, there are other embroidery houses. We actually, at Windsor Castle, we saw a guy who was like, I don't know if he was a groundskeeper or what his role was, but he was just wearing a polo shirt and like work pants, and he came out of a gate that we were looking through taking pictures, and somebody asked him, because he had the Charles insignia on his shirt, and he said, "Oh, I got this from someplace else." So I think that a little bit of a class system in terms of who gets Hand and Lock things and who gets the what is that commercial for that swag business that I can never think of it, where they embroider all the junk that you can get. So I think there might be some version of that. So Druid has done some Googling. So the Order of the Garter is the most senior British order of chivalry. Yep. Let's see. Established by King Edward III, it is the oldest and highest British order of knighthood. The order is limited to the sovereign, the Prince of Wales, and 24 knights or ladies companions. And yes, it is a very tight-knit group. It is not like the Order of the British Empire. You'll often see people that have OBE at the end of their name, and those are people that there's quite a few of those people that get it that bestowed upon them, and they're typically people like in the public sphere who have done like great things for their community, whatever. It's there's kind of like we have like the presidential awards, different kinds of awards that are given by the president, and so the OBE is kind of like that. You can just be like a regular citizen and be awarded that, but yeah, the Order of the Garter is only for very special people. Oh, and this is interesting. Druid says, okay, the motto. I don't know how to pronounce that. I will just phonetic it. Honi soit qui mal e pense, which I know is wrong. Don't correct me because I know it's not. This is French for shame on anyone who thinks badly of this. And the story behind that, the Order of the Garter, it comes from this story where King Edward, at court, there was a lady and her garter fell, and garter being what would hold up your stockings, same thing as today, except back then it was literally a thing tied around your leg versus something that like a suspender from your underwear. But it like fell off, and he picked it up to give it back to her, and there was some kind of like attitude like, oh, what are you doing, you're stealing that lady's garter? And it was his friend or friends who were like, oh, no, how dare you? The king is picked this up to give it back to the lady. He is chivalrous. He is not, a thief or whatever. And so he bestowed upon his friends that backed him up, basically, this Order of the Garter. And so I think that is what shame on anyone who thinks badly of this, because it's about chivalry. It's about like, don't think I'm trying to like get one over, or that, I am being chivalrous. And that's what it's about. Now, I mentioned Prince William is was the 1,000th person to be given, to be honored with the Order of the Garter. Guess who else has an Order of a Garter that they're thinking about taking it? Sweaty old Prince Andrew. Now, Prince Andrew's not real popular with the British people at the moment. He has behaved badly in many ways. And honestly, so not just like the Epstein stuff, but he has also been investigated perhaps for a little bit of shady business dealings, maybe. And so, Order of the Garter is all about chivalry. And I think that there is kind of this like, we may have to take that away from you, buddy. And, you kind of like, you sort of don't blame the king for that, right? Okay, let me show you. Okay, the pictures that did not, for whatever reason, make it into this presentation. So, okay. I may have mentioned, wait a minute. Oh, Regina is the queen. The king is Rex. That's right. So, yes, he would be Charles Rex, and she is Camilla Regina, Elizabeth Regina. So, yeah. The feminine, Regina is the feminine version of Rex. Villain of the Garter. Yes, Villain of the Garter is exactly. I think that would definitely describe Prince Andrew at the moment. So, yes, Bernadette Banner. So if you don't know who Bernadette Banner is, look her up sometime. She's an interesting character. I learned about her and started following her way back when I was doing historical costuming. And she, I've kind of followed her all along, and it's really interesting. She kind of went from this, she's very unique, I'll put it that way. She kind of went from this kind of odd person in New York. And I think she might originally be Canadian. I'm not positive, but I think she moved to New York. And she's done some work for like the School of Historical Dress, which is a whole nother thing. I would love to go visit their studios. They're connected with the Globe Theater. She did work for them, like illustrations and stuff. She's very talented, but she does a lot of hand sewing. And a couple years ago, it might have been during the pandemic, she moved to England. And she lives in this, it looks like she has this little atelier kind of thing that she has. It's kind of like a studio. She's got a cutting table and a spinning wheel and all kinds of stuff. And yes, she dresses in period garb. Yeah, pretty sure she still does. But it's kind of like her own version of period garb. Like, it looks very Edwardian. You know, she wears long floor length skirts. She kind of pulls her hair up into this sort of pompadour thing. But there's also a modern aspect to it too. So I think what she does, they kind of call it history bounding. So it's kind of like a very heavily including historical dress into your everyday. But she has her little atelier, and she creates content. And I haven't watched her videos in quite some time, but I want to say she was trying to spin flax the last time I watched, and I was like, oh girl, good luck. But apparently she did a project with Hand and Lock, and they had a whole bunch of these embroidery kits, and I will tell you, this was one of my big splurges. This was not cheap. But I knew I wanted one of them. And the one I really, really wanted, no offense, Bernadette, was this beautiful moth. And they were out of it. So I was like, all right, I have to buy one of them there, because just the shipping alone makes it prohibitive to order it later. So I was like, this one, I also like this one. This is the Harvest Moon. And so this is what their embroidery kits look like. They have this beautiful band, this lovely printed stuff. The tin itself is printed with H&L. It's really beautiful. They had these somewhere else. I'm trying to think. I don't remember if it was, I don't think Liberty had them. It was another place I did see them. Not the Bernadette Banner one, but it was someplace else. And now I'm just blanking on it. Anyway, before I show you the contents, here is my little bullion. My little bullion. And the way that, like I mentioned, you hook it on and you're cranking that thing and it spins it together. But what it is, this is a chunky bullion. It's bigger than the bullion that you'll see in my kit. But you thread it on this piece of, this is actually thinner bullion. You can see where it's been unsprung. And you thread that through there. So you've got this chunky one, and then right here is where you hook it onto that machine's hook, and you kind of hold it taut, and then when you turn that crank, then it's just twisting it around itself. So that is it. And the ones that are on the epaulettes, I think, are even chunkier bullion, and I think they do this because it's gold. Like this stuff is not cheap, even the stuff that's not real gold. Just because it's the manufacturing of it, I think, is kind of intensive. So here is the innards of the kit. So what they do is for all of the kits, they do some machine embroidery on it so that you don't have to mark stuff out, which I truly appreciate. I can, of course, handle marking out stuff for embroidery, but it's kind of nice, especially that you're dealing with all of these beautiful things. These beautiful embellishments that some of it's already done for you to make it a little bit easier. But it's the instruction book. You've got the gold thread, or it's yellow thread. I think it's Gutermann, actually. So the yellow thread that goes through all of this. There's a little cake of beeswax that's shaped like a little crown. And then there's some embroidery floss. Over there you often find Anchor, which is a DMC floss. It's just happens to be a different, like, branding, I guess. And then the piece stitched on velvet. And then there's gold beads. And then there's all of these different types of the bullion. There's a black bullion. There's gold smooth and gold rough. And what that means is, quiltish is difficult. Yeah, I'm really excited about this kit. I'm also a little scared of this kit. Because once you start cutting up this bullion and stuff, like, it's not like a thread you could gently pull out. You cut it wrong, you've cut it, you've cut it. But gold smooth and gold rough is like, the gold rough, the little spiral it's like a matte finish, whereas gold smooth is more polished. The gold bright check is like, it's been flattened, and I don't know how they do that. But you can see, like, it's there, like it almost creates like squarish sort of little coil. So, and then I'll be honest, I don't know what the difference between gold pearl and just pearl is. Pearl is, I think, a much, much tinier, finer version of bullion. So this will be my project. I'm currently working on 2 quilts I have to have done by the end of this month. God help me. But once I'm done with that, this I think is going to be my next project because I'm really excited about this. And yeah, my mom asked me like, what will it be? Like, what will you do with it? I'm like, probably be something I frame because, you know, it's going to have a lot of work in it. You'll use these like bits of the bullion to make the little fingers that come out of the wheat. There's part of the moon gets sort of shaded with little tiny clippings of the bullion. You fill in these stars, and then I can't remember where the beads go. And what you can't see here very well, there is actually like a bird here, kind of like a raven. And some of the floss embellishes him. And so he pops out more. So, and I think, oh, there's me looking like a dummy with my little piece of bullion, my little piece of epaulette fringe. So that, my friends, is hand and lock. It was, I mean, I'm such a dork, you know. I certainly, the other people I traveled with, they did enjoy hand and lock very much, but I think I was the one who was like, can I just stay? Do I have to leave? So actually I am not done though. Let me show you some of these other things. The one thing I could not take pictures of just because you know, the angle of the camera, the angle of the presentation screen was just, it was difficult. So let me show you this. This is amazing. So they did a jacket for Sir Elton John. And what's really funny is I'll come back to this, but this is the album it was for, Who Believes in Angels. And it was just released this year. It was a collaboration between him and Brandi Carlile, and he's wearing the coat right here, and it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like a gold coat. Apparently in the music video, you do see the back of it. So they were kind of like, when they saw the album, they were like, oh no, you can't see anything. But apparently in the video you can. So you can see it's got these wings stitched to the back of it. They are kind of, you know, they have these feathers that are free floating, just attached at their top edge. And then you have this beautiful beaded and encrusted like wreath of flowers that kind of go down the arms. Oh my gosh, just gorgeous. I mean, look at this thing. And so this I thought was really neat that they have here on the website. And again, you find this if you just go to the thread. You can find this. It's the blog. But this is their mood board, where they were doing some sketches, and they had all these bits and pieces that were kind of, you know, they were referencing as they designed. This they called the Paper Elton. This was the final design, like the cartoon full-size jacket design. And then this shows some of the steps in the embroidery. And so here, this is actually that military lace. And then you see these different types of like beads. These look like some shell beads. And then these pieces, the crusty flowers and stuff, it looks like they were stitched down to like a fine mesh, because in this case they're very three-dimensional, so they're stitched separately and then cut out and then applied to the jacket, whereas something that was flatter, like a you know, medallion or an emblem, would have been possibly embroidered right on the jacket. I suspect also that the material that things are actually made from might also determine whether they stitched directly on it or not. I think that this is like something, I mean, to me it looks like lame. I did not see this in person. This was all just pictures. I think this is like a gold lame, and I suspect that would not be really forgiving to hand stitch on. So I think that's why in this case they also didn't do anything directly on it. It was stitched on later. And then you could see that the feathers, I think, were partially hand done and maybe partially, they might have been marked out in machine embroidery. Here's some close-ups. I mean, look at this. Oh, I mean, I can't even. It's just so fabulous. You know, all of these little things and bits and beaded stuff, and you know, and then you've got this traditional gold work down here. I mean, just something else. And then you could see the close-up of the feathers. And I mean, these each have like little beads down the center, and then these little beads that kind of make the, you know, highlight the, I don't know what you call that, the plumage, the edges of the feathers. And here you can see how they stitch this on, and then I think they cut away that netting once they've stitched it on. In this picture, so this is the part of the studio I was not allowed to take pictures in, and I'm glad I found this picture on their site. So they're photographing it, and you can see, you know, how big it is, you know, against these two ladies. I want to tell you about the lady that's sitting right here, and she's being blocked by the photographer, but she is a very interesting and important person. I'll tell you about her in a minute. But when I was down there, of course, I think doesn't move. That's a permanent desk there, the table that she works at. But and then this is like their big layout cutting table over here. But we're kind of behind where these two ladies are standing between this shelving unit and the cutting table. They had set up a long frame that I saw there were two women working on, one on either side of it. And, you know, it was like kind of a lace fabric, and they had like little, like, I don't know what, palettes like of beads and sequins, and they were individually stitching that stuff on. And I mean, we were disturbing their work. I felt so bad. They, you know, and they were like, oh, ask them any questions, whatever. I'm like, oh, but we're disturbing them. I felt bad. So, oh, look at these. Look at this stuff. Oh, it is just stunning. And yeah, that is like solid, either beading or bullion. I'm not sure. Oh, something else. So let's see. Let me find. There she is. Here we go. So this is Meet the People. So this lady, Karen Beharrell, this machine is called a Cornelli machine, and it is, you can see, it's got a drive wheel. It is a manually operated machine. It is not plugged in, manually operated. She's got like a pedal and then some other kind of lever, but basically what it's doing is a chain stitch. And I think it's fabulous. I mean, there are modern chain stitch machines, but I think it's fabulous. They're using this old original chain stitch machine. And here's the other interesting thing about Karen. She has worked at Hand and Lock for 50 years. Now, I'm not sure whether she was, you know, before the merger, I'm not sure if she was at Hand or Lock. Because I guess, I mean, both have been around long enough for her to have worked at either one. But she started working for Hand, or whichever one, when she was 16 years old, and she has worked there for 50 years. I was like, wow, I mean, she must love her job if she's been there this long, and she's very good at what she does. And then this is, I looked up the Cornelli, it's Cornelli. And this is kind of what it looks like. It looks just like a sewing machine, but what is happening down here with the feed, like where you'd have the foot and the feed dogs, is it's like stepping. It does this sort of stepping thing. So I was dying to take pictures of her, but, you know, with her at work, but, you know, They said no. And I respect that, you know. I mean, all of these people have to sign NDAs. All right. A couple other things to look at. So this is just the thread. You can find all the cool stuff. You know, here we have the Fritz Hansen chair, all about the coronation. You can look at all of this stuff. This is the one specific to Penny Mordaunt, and you can see the sketches. You know, they're you call it like the final versions of the mock-ups. Oh, this is the big giant sword. You see that thing? That thing is enormous. Look at that. Shit to carry that thing. This is the original Lord President of the Privy uniform. So you could see, like, hers is so much more elegant, in my opinion, for a woman. Like, this is very masculine. You know, I'm certainly, she could and would wear that, I suppose, but I think it was very nice that she got to have this garment made specifically for her. Let's see what else. Here's the thing. Word and Bird Nerd, I hope you're still here. This answers your question. So, do they do restoration? As a matter of fact, they do. So, I don't know if they necessarily have a specific history of this banner, the two historic banners. I don't know if they did who did the original sewing on these banners, but they're very old. A person, and she was, I don't even know if it was a man or a woman, but a person found these banners at a boot sale, which, if you don't speak British, that means flea market, yard sale, rummage sale, you know, not something that's, you know, not Christie's, not Sotheby's, like, and they brought them to Hand and Lock, and they basically said, you know, this is what I've realized I have here. I would like to give them to you. You guys deal with it. So Hand and Lock restored these, and they have been reinstalled at St. George's Chapel, which is at Windsor Castle. I saw them. They hang above Edward VII and Queen Alexandra. This is their banner. They hang above their vaults, or their, yeah, I guess it's called a vault. It's basically like, it's a sarcophagus, basically, that the two of them are buried in. It looks, you know, it's like a big marble thing, and then the lid of it is like a life-size carving of them lying there like this. And then these banners hang above them. They are quite large, and they were incredibly in incredibly bad condition when they got them. So there's certain parts of them that they were very careful to maintain, and then other things that they completely redid. Like, I think they gave them all new claws on the lions. The thing that's in its mouth, I think, is all new. But I think they were gentle about the bodies. And you can read this whole thing here that they talk about. But this is them hanging in place, in situ. There's also this lyre, and so the pictures that she showed in the presentation were pretty much like the close-ups of the lions, but there's also this lyre, this beautiful lyre, you know, winged lyre figure that's in one quadrant, and then you've got these lions that are in the other four quadrants, these different lions. So very beautiful. And then this is kind of you can see some of they're working on it. You know, it's a restoration process that I guess, you know, there's some very specific details they had to attend to. And what she's working on is just one quadrant. So that times 4, like that, you know, that's how big it was. A very cool thing, you know, and they did work closely with, Windsor Castle, you know, about these, and then they I don't know, donation, I don't know, it's really a donation, it's pretty much like they gave it back. And, you know, the question is, how, you know, did these things get out in the public? From what I understand, these would have hung somewhere, Buckingham Palace maybe, I don't know, they would have hung somewhere, and then when these royals died, these rulers died, they would be like retired, I guess. And so I think that must be what happened. They took their banner down because let's see, I'm not sure when Queen Alexandra died, but Edward VII died. I think it was like 1910. So they've been deceased for quite some time. I think Edward VII was like a very short time ruler. So anyway, they came down, as part of like the ceremonial aspect of, the royals, and then somehow just ended up in, somebody had them. These things happen, let's see. This is just about more of the hand embroidery and the machine embroidery, and you can see this is Brian May's coat, which I will show you in a second. And then this is just some like this really modern stuff they do, and it's not like the the emblem on your polo shirt. It's much more in depth and artistic than that, I guess, is what I'm saying. And here's let's see, her name is Liz Cook, I think. So yeah, and all of these ladies, they're on the website. You can follow them, look at their stuff. Very interesting. So Brian May. Now here's a little bit about Brian May that I found fascinating when I was looking for the picture of the coat. Did you know that Brian May is an astrophysicist? He has a PhD in astrophysics, and I can't remember what school it is, but basically in the early 70s, when Queen was formed, the band Queen was formed, he was actually studying for his PhD in astrophysics, and the band takes off. So he's like, well, astrophysics or this, globally popular band, well, I'll just stick it out with Queen and see what happens. Well, obviously he became very famous and wealthy off of Queen. And about 20 years ago, he said, I think I want that PhD now. So he re-enrolled in his program and wrote his thesis. And he finished it like a year earlier than he intended, and submitted his thesis, defended it, and became Dr. Brian May. I think that's amazing. I mean, you always hear, I think about like the Rolling Stones, like, you hear about all of their debauchery and whatnot. Brian May is out there getting a PhD in astrophysics. Fascinating. Anyway, this is what the coat looks like. And you could see the fox. And you saw in the pictures I took, there were like multiple versions of the fox, as they stitched it and trying to get the shading right on its face. The fox, one of the reasons why the fox is important to him is because he is a leader for outlawing fox hunts. So fox hunting is still a thing in Britain, and, Brian May is crusading against it. So... And here's the back of it. It's like a frock coat. It's got the split all the way up to the waist, and very fancy. Very, very fancy. And this was, let's see if I have it to read it to you, what this was for. I might have closed it. I think I closed it. But this was a big event that he did. It was a concert that was a big deal. I'll put it that way. I don't remember the specifics, but yeah. So that's it, you guys. I think that's everything. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's one of those you had to have been there. But yeah, I'm just gobsmacked at this. I feel like, it's not like I've never seen finery. It's not like I've never seen really beautiful dresses and things, but just the effort and the pride and the perfection that goes into making these things. And it's just, it you hear about gold work, I knew a little bit about, I know a little bit about gold work, just, from being an embroiderer. I love hand embroidery. I love to do it. I love to look at it. And, I knew a little bit about gold work, never really tried it. Now I will be. But just, the opulence, the beautifultoness. And they don't just do the gold work. That's a lot of what I showed you, but they also do stump work, which was what's on the back of Elton John's coat. Those flowers, I think those constitute stump work, or kind of in that field. Stump work is kind of, it's three-dimensional embroidery basically, and some of the gold work is stump work. But not all stump work is gold work. It's kind of all falls in there. They also do like just really beautiful stuff like black work, which, it's like red work. You think about quilts with red work. Black work is the same thing, but it's, British. It's like the Tudor era. They used a lot of black work. They did, black work around the collar of their shirts. They did, those beautiful kind of black work embroidery. You'd know it if you saw it. And I'm trying to think of what else. Obviously the trapunto, the quilted upholstery. And they do classes. So, and the classes are online. And, I think that, let's see. They have, obviously it's the school. If you go to that link. And I will tell you, they're not cheap classes. Like, they do one that's $35. But a lot of the other ones are $428, $500. So, these really intense work, does cost more. But then these $35 classes are, just teaching you the basics. So, those are things that you can take just to learn the basics. And I'll be honest, I might take one of them just, so that I know that I'm doing the work right. Because, $35 I can afford. $428, maybe not right now. But yeah, so I'll show you. I'll show you that screen so you can see. So yeah, so like this kind of stuff, this couture stuff, this ornamental, like, you're making a thing that's pretty big, and they provide you all the materials too. So that's the other piece of it. Like when you enroll in one of these classes, they send you a kit. So I think that, the price includes all that. So, so when I say this is mostly embroidery, and it's the rind of the watermelon, that is the fancy stuff. Look at this goldwork turtle. And you can see it's very dimensional. Amy Tang is somebody that I want to say she consults with them. I don't think she's an employee of Hand and Lock, but she consults with them, I believe. And she does a lot of these couture, like flowers and things. And so she teaches that class. And let's see. Oh, you could buy this Christmas decoration thing. I think it's probably just as economical to take the class and learn how to do it by yourself. Because I think that actually to buy the thing costs about as much as the class. Michelle Agnew, I think she might be another person. I'm not sure if she's an employee or a consultant, but obviously she and Amy Tang are very popular because their stuff is sold out. And just more, like these are those insects that I showed you on the one of their sample cards. Just fabulous stuff. They also have, like I said, they have a diploma program where you can get like this kind of certification, or you get this full-blown diploma. And I don't know how it compares to like the stuff that the Royal School of Needlework does, because the whole education system in England is so much, I don't want to say so much, but it's different than ours. So I don't know like what this means, but I read over the diploma information, and it's intensive. There's like 5 classes, and they give you like 2 years to finish your project. Like you have these final projects and things to do, and yeah, it's a lot. But it seems very interesting. So wink wink, maybe I'm saving my money for that. I don't know. Come on, Cake, when do you have time for that? All right, guys, it is 4 o'clock my time. We did not get to do any reading, but we'll pick it back up soon because, like I said, there's something big is getting ready to happen in The Secret of the Crazy Quilt. So I got to know what it is. And I'm sure you guys are waiting with bated breath as well. So thanks for sticking around. I'm sorry about my my little glitch there in the middle with the rain. Hopefully Monday will be much, clear and not rainy and thundery. So I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope you'll join me and Jill for Stitch and Glitch on Saturday, but if we miss you, I'll see you on Monday. So take care, guys. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.